What would you say to people who don't know what content to put out?
Document, man. Document. Documenting is such a powerful tool because it tells your story from point A, which is your beginning, to point B, which is where you're going to become. I want to talk a little bit of strategy when it comes to podcasting and why I think every single business should be doing podcast. Hey, Jerome.
Yes.
How many times have we actually restarted our podcast, mate?
How many podcasts have we had? We've had one consistent long podcast.
We did, but I think we had no views at the end. I feel, look, this is the thing, right? And this is actually a message to the people that we work with and also for anyone actually are looking to do podcasts with us. If you are going to do podcasts, you need to make it consistent. Because there's so many times that we ourselves having had that issue where we started the podcast, got really excited, and we're like, yeah, this is gonna be great. And then we got busy and we just stopped doing it. We didn't get consistent. But that's why you need to have someone to keep you accountable, right? And I think this is where we come in. Now, when I say consistent, there's usually a drop off that people get to before, that will determine whether or not you're actually going to continue the podcast. And it's usually about 5 to 10 episodes.
Yeah. There used to be a statistic on this. Like, it was like 20 episodes and you're like the top 1% already. I don't know if that's the same. That's probably like 2022 data, but it doesn't take much to be that top one in terms of like consistency. It's a low bar.
Yeah, and there's too much. I think the problem is that there's that sense of self-critical judgment when people actually think about recording information. The cool thing with podcasts is you just have to talk. Just talk about your industry. Have your opinions. Talk about the good, the bad, the horror stories. People love horror stories, right? So yeah, man. Like thinking about podcasts, like what's one of the things that you've seen over the years that we've done podcasting for our clients, and you can feel free to name some names because we do have some really good case studies in terms of podcasting. But who comes to mind when you think of podcast success?
So is Red Pandas. Red Pandas podcast has been a slow burn. Like, I think if anyone saw the way they progressed, they'd be like, oh, why are we even doing this? Because we've been with them 3 years.
Just over 3 years, I reckon.
3 years of podcasting. And they don't have the biggest following in the sense of like, everyone's like thinking virality, you got hundreds of thousands of like followers immediately. I think they're like 5,000 right now. And I think they were getting like 100 subscribers a month. And that's mostly from the consistency.
That's seen at some of the shorts are seen at 6 figures. It's
nuts.
Yeah. It's
they'll have like one or like every now and then they'll have like a short they'll take off. But at the end of it, that's not even like the point because
what, the virality of it?
No. Yeah, the virality of it. It doesn't really matter so much for them because the amount of times they've gone like a client's come to them and gone, we've gone with you because we've been following your content. You just never know who's watching.
You don't?
And the algorithm will figure out who to put your content in front of anyway.
Controversial view. Okay. And to your point, controversial view. Virality, I can't say that word. Virality doesn't mean shit. And I strongly believe that because there's so many, there's a couple of examples that we've had from Red Pandas, DeLonghi, talking about like our good mates at Parker's Blinds and Curtains as well, that they don't have that many subscribers or followers. You're looking at about maybe 2,000-3,000 followers per account, right? That's not viral.
No.
That's not like, not many people know them globally, but they are known in their field.
Yeah, the industry knows them.
So yeah, and the indication of success of content for our clients is when someone comes to our client and says, hey, I know you from that post you did on Instagram or that post you did on YouTube. That to me, that brings me so much joy. Because it basically means that, yes, people are watching your content and it doesn't have to be that you have tens of thousands of followers or like some of your content have gone to millions of views. Because virality at the end of the day doesn't mean shit. I did a video
There's a little of luck in it.
Yeah. And I did a video where before about virality and then there was like this account of just an egg, right? And that account got 4.8 million views, followers, sorry. And I'm just thinking to myself like, what are you trying to do with this? Really, what are you trying to do with this? When people think about creating content, it's just like, just talk your piece, right? And we live in a world right now on social media where as long as you're putting out content, people are going to watch, and you just never know who's going to watch, who's going to consume your content, who may buy from you in the future, right?
What would you say to people who don't know what content to put out?
Document, man. Document. And this is something I've been saying from the get-go. I've been trying to internalize it ever since I heard it from Gary Vee. Documenting is such a powerful tool because it tells your story from point A, which is your beginning, to point B, which is where you're going to become. Then point C, how you've transformed. Oh, you've got ideas that you thought were right before. Now you think differently.
Why do you think that's so important in business?
It's just important in general for content, because this is how people consume. People want to hear stories, right? And for business, even more so, because and we follow this framework called They Ask You Answer, and basically this content framework basically says that, hey, document everything that you have. That means client questions. That means things that you did bad. That means things that you did good. The benefits of your product, where your product could fail, who is it for, why some people might not be the right fit for this particular product. And this is why I say documenting. And the thing is, we've seen it happen so many times. Red Pandas, Grant Parker's videos, DeLonghi's actually seeing some takeoff from that. And anyone who, even Eden Bray Holmes, and I'm dropping names because these are some of our really good case studies. I'm willing to actually put it out there, saying like, these guys have done it. These guys understand the power of content, right? And that's what I live for. And this is why I do the things that I do. That we do, sorry.
Yeah. Building the business is really important to me, and getting I think people underestimate how knowledgeable they are. Like going off
100%.
Going off the documentation, people underestimate that they're experts in their own businesses and they have information that people don't understand. And even if it's like a typical conversation of, but someone's already made content on that. It's like, but not everyone's consumed that content. That specific one. Maybe they're waiting for your opinion on that. Maybe they're waiting to there is some level of like recency as well that is important in terms of content, because old content tends to not get as much traction as recent stuff because opinions change as well. Okay, getting technical from my understanding.
And you love being technical. I want to understand this shit. You said, what you said here, that recent content isn't as popular?
No, it's just as important. Like, it's important to even refresh your content.
As in repeat some of the stuff that you said before. Okay, that makes sense.
Do you tend to agree with that?
I agree. Yeah. I think it's cool that you repeat some of your own ideas that you had maybe, a year ago, because you've grown a year. You've actually taken a journey, a whole freaking trip around the sun. You've bound to have learned something new about that topic that you've spoken about before. Yeah. Right? I mean, for us in general, and this is a really great example, and you're going to love this one. We started off as just video guys. We just started, we were just some dudes pointing the camera at things and not really knowing what to do with the footage at the end of the day. So the question that you and I asked, and Jay, when he was part of our company, this Jay's my brother, by the way, check him out, the Watch Guy Jay, phenomenal guy. Shameless plug to my brother. But the question that we had asked at the time was, what do we do with these videos? Where is the ROI? How do we measure the success of a video, right? And that idea has taken us through a 5-year journey in marketing. Yeah. And to the point where now we can actually have conversation with our clients, knowing where the videos that we make for them will end up, and knowing or being able to extrapolate what the ROI of those videos actually are. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you can't underestimate, and to your point, you can't underestimate repeating the ideas that you had before, because you may have some new take on it.
Going off that, you're a pillar, like a systems guy as well. Like, as much as I am like a technical guy, in terms of like types of content, if you had to categorize them for people, where would be? I'm talking about your pillars, basically.
Ooh. I mean, if you're gonna ask me my pillars, then this is something that people actually have to do, and I highly recommend it. We have a new staff on board who actually deals with content branding, brand voices and all that stuff. And creating content pillars is actually one of them. For me, my content pillars, the things that I talk about on a regular basis is business, marketing, and communication. And I guess I would say even personal stories, right? So these are my main pillars that I will always talk about. And when I say personal stories, and I just released a video maybe a couple of days ago where I talked about how I flopped at a sale meeting, right? And I was like, oh, I didn't actually do well in this sale meeting because of X. I think one of them could be like, oh, maybe I didn't research this client well enough. Maybe they didn't value the proposition I had for them. Maybe I didn't align with their business well enough. And talking about those personal stories and my personal growth really draws people into the conversation, right? And if I stay true to these pillars, and you can see that if I stay true to these pillars, people are just going to be attracted to those things that I talk about. And a case in point, we talk about business all the time. That's because that's the only thing I want to talk about. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Bores everyone else.
But let's take it up a notch here. I want to talk a little bit of strategy when it comes to podcasting and why I think every single business should be doing podcast as a starting point for content creation, right? Do you have any thoughts on this before I go into this rant?
In what sense?
In terms of like how they should go about creating a podcast for their business.
Nah, you go.
Okay. This is my thinking, right? So when people think podcasting, they think, oh, I'm just going to be like Joe Rogan, right? That's the first thing you think about when you think about podcasting, right? I'm just going to do a 4-hour podcast talking about aliens, ancient civilization, some form of like martial arts. And that's what podcasting should be like. No, I think this time around, if you're going to be doing podcasting for your business, and you might have some input on this as well, you need to be more strategic in terms of what you talk about. And if you want to use this as a marketing medium, right? And that means, okay, well, what are your products? What do you sell, right? How do you actually use your products? What are the benefits? What are the negatives of your content, right? And having a wealth of content in that space, always answering your customers' questions, will give you a whole arsenal of content that you can use for your landing pages, for your marketing, for your ads, and which will actually bring you solid ROI through podcasting. Do you know what I mean? So that's how I think about doing a strategy for podcasting.
How have you seen podcast content being used?
The example of podcasting being used that I think is a really good example is actually Red Pandas. Right? We've done their podcast for 3 years, as you said, and a lot of their content that we produce from their podcast has been used in sales conversation, been embedded into newsletters, have been used for what's it called? They just send it as a touch point to their clients, right? Having them on YouTube creates a searchability about their content, right? And really positions them as market leaders in the digital marketing space, right? So yeah, I'm super pumped about this. I'm sure you are too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing podcasts for years.
So what excites you about it? Like, I mean, every time you think about Red Pandas, like we love talking about the stuff that you learn from them every time you go out.
Yeah, I do. The thing with Red Pandas, something they actually highlighted in their last week's podcast actually, was the fact that they don't even have to think about like renewing content, even though we just talked about that, is that, say, for example, HubSpot is something, a podcast that HubSpot Mentors is a podcast they have. And HubSpot's always changing. They're always updating stuff. And the way you would interact with it would change. And since they're experts at that, and their clients might not be following the most recent HubSpot kind of conversations that's going on or updates, they've got something new to talk about every single time. And they're always having that conversation of, this is how you can utilize it to, further refine your processes. And for the marketing stuff, the marketing one, it's interesting, like Inbound Buzz, they just talk about recent news.
Yep.
recent news, recent changes in that industry?
I think what they found in that, it's the product that they talk about, right? And it's the same with like my brother Jay. Again, like we'll put all these links in the description if you guys want to see some of these examples. But even with Jay, it actually works. Podcasting works really well if you have a solid product to sell, right? Because if you have a product to sell, it means that if people want to buy this product, there are going to be updates, there are going to be changes, there are going to be some variation of your particular product.
Yeah.
So there's always something to talk about, right?
Yeah.
And if for example, HubSpot releases a feature or an update that's bombed, that's actually broken, there is something bad to talk about as well, right?
Yeah.
And because you're keeping people up to date with their particular product, it actually is helping your audience keep up to date with their products so that it benefits them in the end. So that's the cool thing about, if you do a podcast, make sure that you have something to talk about. And if you don't, document.